So, as a part of enterprise structure, we discussed all the elements like enterprise, have information. So, enterprise division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, and inventory organization. As a part of our discussions and system practice, we have seen how to create the primary ledger. We're done with the primary ledger as well as legal entity, right? So the primary ledger and the legal entity part we completed. Now we'll look into other enterprise elements or units. Okay. So we'll see how to create the enterprise, how to create the division. Then we'll proceed with how to create the business unit. After completing all these setups, we will go through the process called rapid implementation so that we will be able to complete all the setups in one go. So far, what are the setups we did through manual process? This is all we can automate by using the spreadsheets. Concept called as the rapid implementation. First, we'll go and see how we can create the enterprise division and the business unit. After that, we will just work on the rapid implementation process. So already we discussed how many enterprises we can have in one instance or else for one client, only one. The client might be operating the business in one country or multiple countries, but we can have only one enterprise. And when we talk about enterprise, we discuss a few points here. Okay, enterprise only one to manage the HCM information, employees, payrolls, options, talent, etc., which is related to employees that we can manage with enterprise. Say, for example, you are going to do the implementation for one of your client for only financials. Do we need to set up enterprise? No, not at all required. So with enterprise level, you can set up how you are going to run your HR, payroll, absence, etc. Those controls and defaults you can set up. If you are going to implement just financials application, enterprise setup is not mandatory. Other reason is by default, Oracle is providing default enterprise. Okay, the default enterprise definition Oracle is providing. So when we talk about enterprise, in every instance, you can find one enterprise. As per business requirement, we have to change. Anyway, we'll just go through the page and we can understand what information we can have at enterprise. Say, create enterprise. So reality, we are not going to create. There will be one default enterprise. You can change how you want to set the controls and defaults which are required for a HCM implementation. Okay, we can go to search page because HCM is not included within our project, right? Search for enterprise HCM information. We have one task called as manage enterprise HCM information. Go to this task. Okay, task name is manage enterprise HCM information. With this, what we can do, we can set up the enterprise. Okay, so reality, there will be one default enterprise. The name also you can see as a default enterprise. Okay, in fresh instance, the name also you can see as a default enterprise. Since the current instance, whatever you are using, it is something like a test environment. You may notice the names are changed by somebody. So the enterprise name, this is the name they given. Somebody given this name that we can edit. If you want to edit this name, you can go to edit, say update. This update and to correct both are different functions with respect to HCM. We don't need to worry about those, just you can select any one of the option. So what is the reason you are going to edit? You don't need to specify, just say okay. You can change the enterprise name, and you can change the controls and defaults which are related to HR and payroll application based on how you are going to implement. We'll see those details. Okay. Just say, okay, it will allow us to do the required changes within this page.
Lakshman, this search is at project level or
Instance level.
instance
Not
level?
specific to any project. Okay. So within the single instance, we can create multiple projects for multiple countries. So all will just falls under the same enterprise. This is instance level.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So only when you talk about enterprise structure, so everything will fall under enterprise. As per the country and your business scenarios, these all you can define. But only enterprise at instance level. Okay, it stands at an instance level. Rest of all inside of the certain, country specific solutions. Okay, here somebody given some name that you can change to whatever the name you want to give. So I want to give the name as XYZNC group, or call it as enterprise. Okay, and here you can notice enterprise information, the worker number generation, how it should happen, employment model, 2 tier, 3 tier, and all the other details also. Global person name, like person number, generation method. Okay, initial person number. You can see all these details. So this complete information like user and role provisioning, global payroll elements information. This complete information is related to HCM. Okay, US balance definition, position synchronization, configuration. Anything you see here that is related to HCM. Being a function consultant for finance, we no need to touch this definition. Okay, just for our understanding, we are here. Otherwise, we no need to go through this page. Just for information, we are going through this page. That's all. Okay, this is how they can edit. Okay, in the fresh instance, if it is going to be only finance implementation, you no need to come to this page also. Okay, these are all details. All the information can be configured by HCM consultants. Okay, how they are going to implement their HR application, payroll application, options, talent, and few other applications which falls under HCM product family. Accordingly, they do all the setups. Okay, you can just submit so that this name will be saved here, or else you can say cancel. Anyway, we don't require that. So that's all about enterprise definition, what we have to understand. The next element is division. We'll see how to create the division. Already we discussed as a part of enterprise structure. Division is one of the enterprise unit, but it is nowhere connected with any transaction creation process. That is the reason at division level, nothing is standing. No application is mapped. Okay, when you compare with EBS also, so equal to division, we don't have anything. Here we discussed the enterprise level HCM applications, primary ledger level, GLFA, legal entity level, cash management, business unit level. These are the multiple applications you can map. That's how Oracle is providing the solution. When you talk about division, so no applications are mapped, no business transactions can be done at a division level. If you are going to have a division as a part of enterprise, if you take division as one of the segment within the chart of accounts, yes, every transaction division can be part of the transaction. So this is the point we have to notice. Let's see how to create the division to understand how that can be defined in the system. create division. Sorry, not this. Under that, whatever we just have to create, that is a primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, inventory organization. Fine. Now to create the division, search for the task called as manage divisions. From here itself, you can find the task. So, task name is manage divisions. Just click on manage divisions task. Say create. Click on create. We discussed we can define the divisions maybe based on the geographies where client is operating the business, or else it may be based on the vertical of businesses client is doing. Okay, I'll take one division name as XYZ INC Consulting Division. Okay, done. There is no other information required here. You may specify the location if it is belongs to a specific location, or else click on next. Okay, here just we are giving very dynamic text here, nothing else. We are not mapping with anything. You can give this division reporting name and who is the manager who's heading this division. Not mandatory. Just click on next. What are the information we provided? You can review and say submit. So division is ready. Say yes. Continue to submit. So now division is ready as a part of enterprise touch. Here we are not mapping anywhere, but when it comes to HCM and PPM, project portfolio management, this division can be included in the different hierarchies. That may be project related or some other reporting hierarchies. The division element can be included when they define the different hierarchies as per that business processes. But when it comes to financials, it cannot be included in any transaction. That's how you can create the division. So enterprise definition is ready. Division is ready. Already we created our primary ledger. Yes, our primary ledger is ready. Legal entity is ready. Now we'll see how to create the business unit, BU, right? See how to create the business unit. So when I talk about business unit, first we have to create a location for a business unit. Okay. So business unit is nothing but the branch. Okay. The place where they are operating the business. Before we go to create the business unit, we have to create the location. So create location for business unit. Okay. Create location for business unit. After creating the location for business unit, we have to create the business unit. So create business unit. After creating business unit, the business unit is going to involve in which business functions we have to specify. Say for example, they have a branches in two locations. In first location, they are doing only sales activities. Then we have to set business function called as sales, so that within that business unit we will be able to perform the sales activities. In the second location, say they are purchasing and they are selling. That means we have to create two business functions. One is purchase, procurement, other one is sales. So what exact activities they are doing in the specific branch, accordingly we have to set up the business functions. We'll go and see more detailed level as a part of the definition. For now, you can take the simple point as, okay, assign business functions to business units. Assign business functions to business unit. BU, business unit. Okay. So we'll just go and complete these tasks. First, we'll create the location for a business unit. The location you can create from the project. If not from the project, directly you can create from this search page also. Search for a task called as manage locations. So we created one location for legal entity, legal address we created, that is different from this page, right? We use the task called as legal addresses. Now we are using the task called as manage locations. Okay. So here say create, just click on create. Click on create to create the location. Already we have seen how to activate the location information by using the task called as manage geographies. What are the information is available based on the manage geographies? With the help of that data only you will be able to create the location. Then we can give the name as XYZ and C, some location called as Dallas. You can give the code for that location XYZ and C, some Dallas, and provide address XYZ and C, Dallas address, or else you can go with the reality. You can write some, provide some address, and provide zip code so that system will default city, state, and county. Because that's how we have an address style structure. So go to zip code, search. You can search for any one of the zip code, maybe Dallas related or any other zip code. You can pick any one of the zip code just to create this address. Done. Okay. Provide this basic information and say submit. Okay. Seems to the address style somebody changed in this environment. We'll go and check once. Say manage geographies. Find address style for US. Structure define. Go to structure define. Maybe somebody might have did some changes to this. State, county, city, postal code. This is fine. Go to validation define. Expand this. Nothing is enabled, everything is fine. Really here there should be one more, but seems to somebody removed. Okay, United States postal address format. So by default this should be there. Seems to that is missing here. Let me enable. Seems to somebody deleted in this environment, that's all. Okay. This would be there by default. The moment you click on that import geography data, is all details you could see. We don't need to do any additional task to set up this. Just wait for a second. We're done. Now we'll go and check. The task name is manage locations. Save. What text code is missing for the home or work address? Check the geocode exists for the location. The regional component creation could not be completed. 1 second. Just 1 second, please. Okay, let's try with this postal code. Just submit. So what text code is missing? I'll check this, okay? But this is how just we have to fill the details to create the location. I'll check that issue offline. Maybe somebody might have did some changes. I'll just check and I'll let you know that. So this is here we can create the location for our business unit.
Hi Lakshman, what is the location set that was mentioned on that page? How is that used? Location set we had selected as common set.
Oh, that I'll explain. Even when you create the business unit also, you will come across with that. Okay. But by default system is selecting as a common set, and we will see how to create it, what is the purpose and all. Yeah, for now you can ignore that.
And one more quick question, Mr. Lakshman. Will geography be created based on the state or city or zip code based? What is the concept of that?
Geography always we create specific to country specific.
Yeah, country specific. But is it get down to zip code level or city level or state level?
It
Let us say
always,
if you take
always we have to follow the country address style. Every country it has their own address style, the format, the postal address.
yeah, I do. No. See, let us say what my question is. If you take the US, what could be approximately number of geographies which are imported by default by the system? Let us say if it is a state level, will it be around like 55, right?
Yes.
So how many will be? And my question is, will it be at the state level or zip code level or based on the city level? What is, geography is meant for?
Geography could be anything. Within the geography, these are the types. Whatever we are talking, county, state, city, postal code, all we call as the geography types. This all comes under geography. Go to this geography page. So whatever we discussed, these are all we call as geography types. So go to define, search and define. See, these are the geography types. Okay, state, county, city, postal code. Okay, so the geography structure for US. The geography can be represented with any the level, like it could be state or county, but this all we are taking as a types within the geography. These are the levels.
Okay, by default, Oracle, what type of structure follows? It means
What you see here, that is provided by Oracle. This is the default structure.
no, Mr. Lakshman, this is a structure. I do agree, but the creation, what level of geography it is created? I mean, let us say present, if you have the United States, how many geographies are there by default?
What exactly
approximately
referring as a geography here? You are referring.
Is it area or is it specific to some Northern America? I mean, within the states, like this, within the America, within the USA.
They are taking as one geography. Within that, they are giving the types by following the address type. one country, one geography. That's how that is.
Okay, country level it is.
Country level. Yeah, by default, what they are giving country level. Within that, how you want to manage accordingly, you can define through manual process. Ideally, Oracle is providing. If you don't want to use whatever Oracle is providing, you can create by selecting here. Say, if by default it will be blank, what you can do is here you can go to list and you can select what should be the geography type. If you think whatever you need it is not available in the list, here you can click on add geography type. You can give that name that you can list out here. In that case, you have to maintain all the geography values by entering through manual process. Whatever Oracle is providing, if you are going to use it, just you can dump the data since Oracle is providing with a single click. Here already we discussed that point. If you go back to the previous page, there you can see here. You go to actions. If you click on import geography data for this country, US, whatever the geography data Oracle is providing, you can see the same. You can see in the hierarchy defined here. So country, states, you can expand state. You can see that. Okay, under states, county, expand, cities, under cities. So this is how just you can find the Oracle provided data, or else you can go through manual process. So you can create the structure for the geography and you can add, but actually we don't go with that approach. Always will go with whatever Oracle is providing. Yep. Fine. The location part, that it is showing some error, no issues. I'll just verify that. So, but that's how you can create the location. That is a page where we can create the location. I will see how to create the business unit. Go to task called as manage business unit task that we can do from our project, because if you want to perform this assign business unit business functions to BU, we have to be in the project. So go to task called, go to implementation project, task list, manage implementation projects. Our project is XYZ INC. Search for the task called as manage business unit. Manage business unit is the task. Click on go to task icon. Here you could see many business units which are already created in this environment. Let's create our own. Say create. The BU name is XYZ INC US business unit. So already we discussed the naming conventions for business unit. Maybe location you can represent with a business unit, or whatever the internal name you use for the business that you can represent with the business name, or else what exact business you are doing that you can represent with the business unit name, or else the business what you are doing and again in which location you are doing that you can take as a business unit name. Or if you say you have only one branch, one outlet in US, simply you can give the name with including the country name. That's all. And here manager. Okay, the manager name is not mandatory. So now anyway you cannot select any manager here. Whatever the user we created, that user is implementation user. Once you create employee user, you will be able to select the manager. Okay, again manager selection is not mandatory. Nowhere it will impact in the business process or any activities. System is not going to verify whether manager name is selected in the business unit level or not. This is just for information purpose. But anyway, now you cannot select. We have to see how to create the employee user creation, then only we can understand that. Location selection, where you are operating your business. If you say XYZ US business unit, where exactly you are operating the business, that location we have to select. You can select the location. Just now we have seen how to create the location. Since there is some issue with that, we were not able to create. So now let's select one of the existing location. Let's choose this location, ABC US corporate location. You can pick that. And here we have one field called as default set. For now, just remember, once we start working on payables application, we will understand what is the purpose, how to create our own, where it will impact, all the points we will discuss. Here the name you can see as a default set. Okay, default set. Wherever you see the term called as set, remember that is nothing but reference data set. Okay, wherever you see the term called as set, that is nothing but reference data set, short RDS. Even this you can see at the time of location creation, also in many other setups you can see. But anyway, we are not going to do anything with this now. As of now, just notice, once we start working on the payables application, we will see what is the purpose, how to create our own, what Oracle is providing, why they are providing. Okay, in transaction business process, where it will impact, everything we will discuss. So notice here at the time of business unit creation, system displaying one field called as default set. Set is nothing but reference data set. Set means reference data set, RDS. Now you can select value called as a common set. Okay, for now you can select the value called as common set, which Oracle is providing. By default, Oracle is providing one reference data set value called as a common. Along with the common, they are providing one more also. Yes, we will discuss that also. For now, take this. Select common. Why we are selecting common, we are not discussing as of now. But just remember, at the time of business unit creation, we are selecting the default set called as common. That's all. No other information is required for us. Just remember this. Very soon we will discuss about it. Okay. How we are creating business unit? We are giving the name and we are selecting location. We are selecting the default set. If you look at this business unit definition, the name and default set, these two fields are mandatory. There is star mark. These two fields are mandatory. The manager and location, these two fields are completely optional. Okay, these two fields are completely optional. But manager selection is not mandatory. Yes, by seeing that field we can understand. Even location field is optional. You should select the location. Otherwise, we have few concepts, those doesn't work. Okay, at the time of business unit creation, if you don't select the location field is optional. Because of that, if you don't select the location, there are certain concepts which doesn't work when you implement those processes. Exactly when you are working on those processes, I'll give you a note once again. This is a case where the functionality doesn't work if you don't have a location for business unit. I'll give you a note once again when we are working on those concepts. For now, take the simple point. Location selection, we have to take it as a mandate at the time of business unit creation. Say your client is doing the business in 10 locations, or say the client got 10 branches. In that case, this is the same process we have to follow to create the business unit. Okay, now just say save and close. Okay, location is business unit is created. Now within this business unit, what activities client is doing? Okay, what activities client is doing? What business activities they are doing? That we have to set up by using the business unit business functions. Okay, assign business functions to BU. So next to the task, we have a task called as assign business unit business function. Okay, business unit business function. Click on go to task icon. Just click on go to task icon. Now we want to assign the business functions to which BU. And one more point. With the task called as assign business unit business functions to BU task, what we can do is we can specify the business unit is going to involve in which business operations, as well as we can assign our primary ledger and legal entity to this business unit. We'll go and see that. So select our BU name, say apply and go to task. XYZ search, select, say save and close. Okay, here you can see this is our BU name. These are the business functions which already Oracle is providing in every instance. Now this business unit is going to involve in which business activities, those we can select as a business functions. Say within this business unit we want to create the payables invoices. So you have to enable payables invoicing. Okay, payables invoicing and payables payments. Within this business unit you are going to involve in the payment process also. Enable payables payment. Okay, payables invoicing and payables payment. These two business functions you are enabling. And this business unit is going to involve in the procurement activity. So you have to enable procurement. So you are going to implement project accounting. Within the PPM, project portfolio management, project costing and project billing we call as a project accounting. Project accounting means the combination of project costing and project billing. These two applications we call as a project accounting. So if you are going to implement those two applications also, this BU level, that means BU level means at this branch level, if you are going to use these applications to manage that relevant business process, so you have to enable this. In this business unit, if you want to create the requisitions, we have to enable requisitioning business function. If you want to receive the stock at this BU level, if you have some warehouse operations, you have to enable receiving. And if you want to implement receivables application, you have to enable billing and revenue management. And if you want to create the receipts when you get the payment from customers, you have to enable customer payments business function also. So what are the applications you are going to implement? Based on those applications, what business functions we require, those we have to enable here. But nothing wrong if you enable all. Okay, so when you are practicing, you can enable all, so that system will allow you to do the relevant applications implementation. So just you can enable all. Nothing will go strong until unless you implement. For example, I want to implement payables. Payables means invoice creation and payment creation. If I don't enable this payables invoicing and say okay, payables invoicing and payables payment, and I just disable these two, payables invoicing and payables payment. That means for this business unit, okay, for this XYZ and CS business unit, we are not going to implement payables application. If you try to do the payable setups, within the payable setups, you don't find this business unit name. So that means you cannot implement payables for this business unit, since this BU level, the payable related business functions are disabled. If you want to implement payables for the above business unit, you should enable this. If you enable, then only you can do the setups. You can do the implementation. Once the setups are done, you will be able to create the transactions. So this is the point we have to notice. And now again, if you are going to do the implementation for this business unit is going to use which primary ledger to record the transactions. That primary ledger you have to select here. What is our primary ledger name? XYZ INC. Search for XYZ INC primary ledger. To this primary ledger, already we assigned XYZ and USA legal entity, right? As a part of setups, we assigned a legal entity to that primary ledger. So whenever you record the transactions with this business unit, system will use this primary ledger, and that transactions will be reported to this default legal entity. Okay. So these are the points we have to notice in this page. Any questions here, please? Just enable this invoicing and the payment also. Here there is one checkbox called as below legal entity. It is related to profit center business unit classification for our BU, which will be useful in the inventory application. When you define the inventory organization, I'll show you where this will impact. I think that is not required when it comes to finance. So the same business unit will be mapped in the inventory definition also. There that inventory could be useful if you are going to use for profit center business unit classification, where you can create the reports inventory organization wise if you are going to have only one legal entity. I'll just show you when we create the legal inventory organization. For now, there is nothing, just you can see the field only. Okay, if you enable this, what will happen? I'll show you at the time of inventory organization. Here, what point we have to understand is, for specific business unit, what are the applications we are going to implement, the relevant business functions we have to enable. Say you are going to implement payables. If you are going to implement payables, you have to enable payables invoicing and do payables payment. These two business functions you have to enable. And you are going to implement receivables. To implement receivables, this billing and customer payments, these two business functions you have to enable. If you are going to implement procurement, you have to enable this business function so that you will be able to create the purchase orders and other relevant transactions. If you are going to implement projects, you have to enable project accounting business function, the same way other relevant. And you have to associate our primary ledger also with the business unit in this setup only. Automatically system will default the legal entity. So these are the points we have to notice. Any questions here, please?
Lakshman, to know more in detail. So already in creating implementation project, we are selecting the offerings, right? Then
Correct.
Even though we have to select every task while creating the legal entity for business unit.
See, the implementation project creation and all, that is separate thing. What you are trying to understand here, we have to select for every task means, okay, within the implementation project, when you are performing any setup, do we need to select every time business unit and legal entity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, not required. In every implementation project, for the first time you have to select it. First time you have to select. From next time onwards, you don't need to select. That will remain within the selected scope. If you click on go, it will take us to the page whatever the business unit is selected. No, one time you have to select. One time you have to select, again not for all the tasks. One time for one task we have to select. For all the relevant tasks, same business unit or legal entity or primary ledger will get defaulted. I'll show you once. I'll close this page. Once again, yeah, we'll do that.
Hi Lakshman, for me instance is showing as authentication failed. Why it is so?
Okay. So these points we may discuss later, but I'm using the same instance. You might be trying with a different instance. I'm not sure. We'll check it in the end of the session. Same instance, same credentials, just are working fine from last 2 weeks. It's more than 1 week, 10 days.
Yeah, up to
If you don't
Sunday
mind,
it was
in the
fine.
middle of the session, this discussion
Okay.
may not be good. We'll discuss
Uh-huh.
the session, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead. Any other questions here, please?
Mr. Lakshman,
Yeah.
these selections we have to make for every business unit we create, right?
Exactly. For every business unit, we have to assign our primary ledger and legal entity. And for every business unit, we have to enable these business functions so that you will be able to do the relevant applications implementation for that business unit. Yes, we should do this.
Yeah, this we are doing as part of implementation,
Correct.
not as part of the implementation project we have created, right?
Okay, you see, this is we are doing as a part of implementation means we do all the setups through implementation project only. Implementation and the implementation project both are not different. When you do the implementation through implementation project, we do all the setups.
Okay, that means it's a part of implementation project.
Yeah.
Every setup we make, we should do through project only.
Yeah, project only. All the setups we have to do from project only. Why we will discuss now. After just discussing this point, I'll explain that why we have to do. I don't say all. Most of the tasks we have to complete from the project. Otherwise, what is the issue we will discuss.
Okay.
Hi, Lakshman.
One more question I have. Can I ask you here?
Please.
Regarding the enterprise creation,
Please.
right? If the financials only are being implemented, you said we don't need to create an enterprise of our own.
Correct.
We can go by the default enterprise.
Correct. What Oracle is providing. Yeah.
Providing. Suppose we are implementing only financials now, and we selected default enterprise structure.
One second.
Later on, if you want to.
No, 1 second. It's not like we are selecting default enterprise structure, default enterprise. That would be there. We are not touching it. That's all. It's not like we are selecting. There's no statement like we are selecting. Okay. Just we are selecting. We are not touching. That's it. When you are implementing only financials, you don't need to go and do any changes to existing default enterprise which is providing.
Okay. The enterprise structure needs to be created only when we are implementing HCM.
No, 1 second. You are using the term called as enterprise structure. When you say enterprise structure, enterprise, division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, inventory organization, this all comes under enterprise structure. I am not at all talking about enterprise structure. I am talking about enterprise. Only enterprise.
Yes. I'm sorry. Enterprise. Structure anyway. You're creating the structure. We need to create a structure for the enterprise structure.
Yeah.
The enterprise, we are not creating an enterprise of our own.
Exactly. Enterprise is only one in the enterprise structure.
Okay. So that we are not creating of our own. We are going whatever has been created by the Oracle.
That's true.
If only financials is being implemented.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Even if you
Thank you.
SCM also along with the financials, the same. You don't need to touch.
Lakshman, do we have a FBDA option to create a business unit and assign the business unit? All these tasks can be covered in the FBDA template. Do you have that option?
Correct. We have. That is a rapid implementation. We will see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Lakshman sir.
Automated by system.
Hello, Lakshman sir. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Sir, is enterprise is similar to like business group in e-business tax?
No, not
EBS,
business group. Okay, here the same point we discussed in the last session also.
We just want to correlate with EBS, right?
Yeah.
This is the fusion structure: enterprise, division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unity, then IO.
See,
could you please just correlate this one with like EBS? Yeah.
This is enterprise structure in Fusion. This is a multi-org structure in EBS. Okay. So in Fusion, whatever you have enterprise, similar to that, we have business group in EBS. But in the business group, you can create country specific. But enterprise is not country specific, client specific. If you look for the point to compare business group with in Fusion, equal to business group, whatever we have in EBS, equal to business group. In the Fusion, we have LDZ, legislative data group. Equal to business group, we have LDZ, legislative data group. However, you can create the business groups in EBS, country specific. In the same way, Country-specific legislative data groups you can create within the Fusion, but these all LDCs will be under enterprise only. But LDC is not part of enterprise structure in the Fusion, but business group is part of multi-org structure in EBS. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to compare, business group is equal to Fusion LDC. That's it. Fine. So just we can say save and close, and we'll discuss few more points on this same. Okay, just say save and close, so that system will allow you to do the setups which are related to the enabled or assigned business functions. Again, I'll just go back to the same page. Okay. Now see, you enable payables invoicing under payables payments. If you disable this, if you go to payable setups, you don't find this business unit. So you enabled and you completed payables implementation, then if you disable, there won't be an issue. Already you completed setups, even if you disable, so there won't be an issue. Already you completed setup, that's how system will understand. Okay. For example, you enable only few business functions here. Later point of time, you can come back to this page and you can enable. That is okay. Okay. So at any point of time, you can enable and disable the business functions. And ideally what we do is whenever we do these setups, we can enable all the business functions, whatever required, or else even not required, you can enable. So until unless you do the implementation, there won't be an issue. So just remember this point. So this is how we have to assign the business unit business functions. Done. So as a part of enterprise structure, we completed setups for, we have gone through the setups like enterprise creation. Anyway, that is a default. You may change the name. And if you are implementing HCM, you can do the relevant setups. Otherwise, you don't need to touch it. And create division, already we have seen. Create primary ledger, we discussed and we completed that definition. And legal entity also we have seen how to create, and just now we have seen how to create the business unit. Now we will see how to create the employee user. After completing the employee user, we'll go through the process called as rapid implementation. Okay. So now let's talk about employee user creation. Employee user. Employee user is nothing but we create employee plus will provide the user credentials to that employee that we call as employee user. That means user ID. We create employee and will provide a user ID for that employee, that only we call as employee user. When we get access to fresh instance, can we create employee user? No. Why? If you want to create employee user, at the time of employee user creation, we need business unit and legal entity information. Okay, when you create the employee user, we need primary business unit and legal entity information. If you have a business unit and legal entity, that means we have a primary ledger also. So these are the points we have to understand. To create the employee user, we need primary ledger, legal entity and business unit. Without these setups, we cannot create employee user. That is only the reason first we are creating employee user. First we are creating implementation user. How to create employee user? How to create implementation user? Just we have to provide the name and provide the password. That's how implementation user you can create. But when it comes to employee user, you have to provide the legal entity name and business unit name. Otherwise, system won't allow us to create the employee user. So this is the reason why we created implementation user first. Otherwise, implementation user is not at all required. We cannot create employee user in the fresh instance. That is the reason we created implementation user. To create implementation user, what point system will verify, we'll see now. Okay. you want to create employee user, what are the points system will verify? Say you are creating employee user. So create employee user. When you try to create employee user, you have to select the legal entity. Okay, legal entity you have to select. When you select the legal entity, system will verify. System will verify whether the legal entity is associated with any legislative data group or not. Okay, there is a concept called as legislative data group. LDG. Okay, when you create the legal entity, what system will do is system will verify whether legal entity is associated with that legal entity or not. I'll just give those points. So we need one legislative data group that need to be assigned to legal entity. That legal entity we can assign to employee user. So this is what system will expect. When you create the employee user, if you select legal entity, system won't allow. System will verify the legal entity is associated with the legislative data group or not. Why system will verify the employee user association is belongs to which legislative data group? Employee user means you are creating employee and you are providing the user ID. So this employees belongs to which legislative data group system has to understand. The purpose is with the help of legislative data group only you can run the payrolls. That means when you create the employee user, system will validate the employee is going to belongs to which legislative data group, US legislative data group or India legislative data group or which other country legislative data group that need to be identified by system. That system will do with the help of legal entity association. Okay. When you create employee user, you have to select legal entity. Before you select the legal entity, there should be legal entity association with legislative data group. Okay, this is what we have to understand. So first what we have to do is we have to create legislative data group. Create legislative data group. So basically this setup should be done by HCM consultants. So as a part of your implementation, HCM, finance, SCM are being implemented. In that case, definitely this legislative data group setup would be ready. You can just select and you can proceed with that, or else you don't need to do this. The legislative data group creation and assigning the legislative data group to legal entity, this can be done by HCM consultants. If no HCM implementation as a part of your implementation, we have to create the legislative data group. Without creating the legislative data group, you cannot complete the finance implementation. Okay. Legislative data group definition is mandatory in every implementation. It's a very simple activity. Okay. We'll go and see. First, we'll create the legislative data group. Then we have to assign legislative data group to legal entity. Assign legislative data group to legal entity. Okay, then assign legal entity to employee user. That anyway we'll do as a part of definition. And again, create employee user. You can create from the scratch, or else one more option is you can convert implementation user as employee user. We'll try with these two options. Okay, you can create new employee user, or else whatever the implementation user already we have, that user you can convert as a employee user. We'll test both cases. Let's see how to create the legislative data group. So that legislative data group we have to create from search page. Go to search page, because within our project we don't have HCM offering. Right. Go to search page. Search for legislative data group. Okay, search for legislative data group, manage legislative data groups, search, say create. So the legislative data groups are specific to country specific. If you are creating for US, you can include the country name within that. You can give the name as XYZ INC US legislative data group. US legislative data group. And this belongs to which country? Okay, legislative data group is country specific. So select this is for which country. Click on search. The United States. Okay, United States. Select and say OK. Country is the same. Then click on submit. So based on the country, system is deriving the currency that you have to accept. Say yes. And one more point here, you can see cost allocation structure that we can ignore. That should be created and selected by HCM consultants. Now we are not dealing with HCM. Ignore and say submit and OK. Done. So legislative data group is ready. If you are going to implement for 10 countries, for each country you have to create separate legislative data group. Now assign this legislative data group to legal entity. Here search for task called as legal entity HCM information. Please make a note of all these tasks which we are dealing. Now what we are going to do? We are going to assign legislative data group to our legal entity. Without assigning legislative data group to our legal entity, if you select our legal entity for employee user definition, system won't accept. So task name is manage legal entity HCM information. Click on this task. Find our legal entity first. Our legal entity name is XYZ INC. Search. Click on legal entity name. Click on legal entity name. Go to edit option. Say update. Say OK. No reason we have to specify, just say OK. You just click on OK. Ideally, this HCM pages take some time when you are performing any task. Now here go to tab called as payroll statutory unit. Select tab called as payroll statutory unit. So this is our legal entity. To this legal entity we have to assign legislative data group. Select what is our legislative data group. XYZ IMC. This is what we have to select. Okay. XYZ IMC US legislative data group. Okay. This legislative data group we are assigning to our legal entity. This is what we have to do. It's all about mapping. Yes. Okay, seems to somebody assigned some other legislative data group to our legal entity. 1 second. We'll come back. XYZ. Click on legal entity name. Go to payroll starter unit. To our legal entity, somebody assigned legislative data group. Anyway, that is also US legislative data group only. We can accept. Since already somebody assigned, it's not allowing. Okay. So that's how there we have to select our legislative data group. That's how our legal entity would be ready to use in the employee user creation. Now we can create employee user. Okay.
One Mr. Lakshman, one quick question. Can't you update the this thing? Data entity for a legal entity. Can't you change it?
The reason is, if once we assign based on that that legal entity and legislative data group would be under payroll usage. Once we use, system won't allow us to update. There may be some activities, some HCM related transactions might have performed. That is the reason it is not allowing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now we can see how to create employee user.
Another thing, Lakshman, so if we have multiple legal entities within a country, and because we are creating this LDG at country level, so can we assign same LDG to all those legal entities within our country?
Same LDG if you want. Yes, you can assign. Same LDG you can assign to multiple. Since under all the legal entities you are going to run the same with the same reference of the payroll. Yes, you can do that.
Okay, but is that a standard business practice, or is it like for each legal entity we usually create a different LDG?
The most of the cases you will have only one legal entity. There are few businesses, organizations where even that the group is same. For entity wise, they will have a separate legal entity definition, and they run the payrolls as per their entities. That scenario also you can see, but it's very rare cases. Most of the cases, one LE for one country. Okay, we come across with the different scenarios. Primarily one legal entity only, but if there are some why they have to go with the multiple, yes, that also can be managed.
And one more question related to this, Mr. Lakshman.
Yeah.
When there is only one LDG for a country, why do you need to create it directly? We can assign the country code, right?
Country.
Directly we can assign the country code. Why do you need to create the LDC when only one can be created for a country?
Yeah. See, it is not like just creating LDs and assigning to legal entity. There are many setups which we have to perform from HR and payroll side to facilitate that setup mapping with the relevant objects in HCM side. They introduce the LDC. Okay, here maybe as you mentioned, just the code and all we can assign, that may be the solution. But when it comes to HCM and payroll, when we are doing the setups, there are like multiple mappings where this concept only will be useful. If you give single code, that may not work. Or I'll say, for example, as you mentioned, a single code, you will give some country code, will assign. Yeah, when you have a two different legal entities, if they have to run the payroll separately, now they need two codes. That can be possible by creating the separate LDGs only. Otherwise, it would be only one code. They cannot differentiate running the payrolls based on that legal entities which are there in the same country. So that is the reason they are given the flexibility to create and to segregate and manage the HR and payrolls data with the concept called as LDG.
It means for LEZ, we can define the different payroll, I mean, business or some.
HR and payroll process defined. Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Let's see how
Mr. Lakshman,
for user.
sorry,
Please,
one
please.
more question, please. Yeah, you were telling legislative group is associated with a legal entity.
Exactly. You have to map legislative data group with legal entity. Correct.
That means we are associating, right?
Yeah, we are associating. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Take for example, in USA, there is one legal entity which is doing business in multiple states.
Okay.
Each state will have a different tax structures there for the employees. In that case, do we need to have multiple, can we associate multiple legislative data groups for one legal entity?
No. Like, see, different states for different, see, that they can manage at the state level with payroll elements. You can set some conditions and you can manage. That is another option since country is same. Or else if you want to go with a separate, yes, separate also you can go, but it's not required. The one legislative group they can manage, but they can put some conditions when it comes to payroll definitions. If the employee belongs to so and so state, okay, this element is applicable, that element is not applicable. That's how they can set conditions accordingly that can be calculated. It's not mandatory how to separate LDCs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now we'll see how to create the employee user. Okay, we'll see how to create the employee user. To create the employee user, what are the prerequisites? We have to create the legislative data group that need to be associated with a legal entity. Then only by selecting that legal entity you can create employee user. And to create employee user, one more setup it should be ready. That is business unit. Yes, our business unit also ready now. Let's see how to create employee user. Search for the task called as manage users. Okay. Manage users is the task to create employee user. Click on the same task. Say create. Okay, just click on create. Here you can provide the name. Say you want to give the name as ABCINC. Okay, I want to create some new employee user. I'm giving the name as ABCINC. And provide email ID for ABCINC. The hire date you can specify here. And for this user, what should be the username? To login instance, I'm giving same as ABCINC. And scroll little down and select person type. So by default in the fresh instance, you can find, okay, only these two values, contingent worker and employee. The rest all are created by the people who are practicing on the instance. Okay, only these two values you can find. Contingent worker is nothing but contractor and employee, the full-time employee. You can select whom you are defining. You are defining that employee user definition for contract worker or full-time employee. So I'm selecting employee. When you select employee, it will ask us to select this employees belongs to which legal entity. When you select legal entity, automatically system will understand the employee falls under which payrolls. The reason is with legal entity we associated legislative data group which talks about the employee payrolls. So legal employer is nothing but legal entity. We have to select our legal entity. Our legal entity name is XYZ Inc. Okay, XYZ Inc. USA legal entity. If I select XYZ Inc. USA legal entity, system will accept. It is accepting. Anyone please tell me if you, I hope you might be doing the practice in instance, same instance. Anyone can tell what are the legal entity you created? Anyone please? Any legal entity name? Oh. No, you didn't create any legal entity in this instance. Can you tell me the legal entity whatever you created within this instance?
For PBJ.
Sorry?
Check for PBJ.
PBJ. Yeah.
Yes. PBJ INT legal entity.
That should come.
Space after PBJ. PBJ. It's PBJ. PBJ.
Yeah. So this is a legal entity you created. And one more suggestion from my end. Don't create any these definitions for India. Use for US only so that you never come across with any issues. Okay. You just created for India. Create for US. So that will help you for smooth the setup of transaction process. Now if I try to select this PBJ legal entity, system will verify whether legislative data group is assigned to this legal entity or not. If it is assigned, it will allow. If it is not assigned, it will reject. You see this. I'm trying to select this. No legislative data group is associated with this legal employer. Select a different legal employer. So this is what system is expecting. If you are selecting the legal entity at the time of employee user creation, that legal entity should be associated with the legislative data group. That is the reason we created legislative data group and we assign. Right? Now we can select our legal entity. Okay, our legal entity name is XYZ Inc. Select, it will accept. Now we have to select business unit also. XYZ Inc. US business unit, right? Done. So we selected business unit. If you want to create the business unit and if you want to set the business functions, we have to assign our primary ledger and legal entity also, right? So that means, remember, once we are ready with primary ledger, legal entity and business unit, then only we can create employee user. Okay, we want to create employee user in the system environment. The legal entity, primary ledger and business unit, these all setup should be ready. Then only we can create employee user definition in the system. So these are the basic details we have to provide to create the employee user. So we are giving the name. If you want to provide the first name, middle name, title, etc., you can provide, but not mandatory. The last name we are giving, email ID, hire date system is deriving automatically, and the username with what name this employee can log into the instance, and person type you are giving as employee, and a legal employee, nothing but legal entity and business unit details we are providing. Now you can say save and close. If you notice here, there is no password. Okay, there is no password we are setting. Just you can say save and close. System will save this employee user definition and the same user would be available in the security console. Okay, ABCINC already exists. Somebody created ABCINC. I'll create the name as a 1, ABC1 for testing. Okay, now what are the employee user we are creating? The same employee user system will sync with the security console. Now we can go and find this employee user within the security console. Just now we create employee user called as ABC1. Let's navigate to security console. Here go to tools, security console. Okay, just navigate to security console. Go to users. So what is the username? So we created a user called as ABC1, right? So ABC1. Search. Since it is not synchronized, ideally the name will come here. Wait for some time. Okay, it may take some time because that has to be synchronized. Okay, it may take some time for synchronization. What are the user we created in the manage users page? That usernames will be displayed here. From here you can reset the password. So meantime we'll go with other point. We have our user called as XYZ You can just click on username. You can notice here username is XYZMC, last name is XYZMC. There is no other information here. Okay, so the user belongs to which legal entity, business unit, employee number, etc. We don't have here. Now you can convert this XYZMC from implementation user to employee user. We'll go and see that. Now go to same task, manage users task, setup and maintenance. So when you practice also, you try to convert implementation user as an employee user so that you don't need to assign any roles again and all. You don't need to do those activities. Assigning the application implementation consultant role, IT security manager role, what are the roles we assign related to GL. Those are all roles you don't need to assign again. Right? So go to task called as manage users. Manage users. They create. So I'm giving the same name as the last name, the XYZ. And here, instead of giving the new name, you can link existing implementation user to this definition. Enable link user account. Click on this link. Okay. Name. What you can take the same name. What name we have in the security console? XYZ. Search. Select. Say OK. Now the rest of process we know. Just we have to select the person type. Person type is employee. XYZ Select XYZ legal entity, XYZ US business unit. That's all. Now we are adding employee user profile to XYZ. XYZ is a implementation user. So now automatically system will create the person ID for this XYZ, and again this XYZ belongs to this legal employer, legal entity, this business unit. We'll see the same update in the security console. So save and close. Just wait for a second. This record system will convert into employee user. Now, if you go to security console and if you find the user called as XYZ, you will find additional details against this XYZ user. Okay, you will find additional details. Now, click on done. Go to security console, tools, security console. Select username, users, and our username is click on display name or username. Now you can see the additional details to that user. Associated worker information. We created XYZ as the implementation user. Now the additional properties are added. This XYZ user is now worker name, worker, and this is the person number. And this XYZ belongs to this business unit. Okay, we converted XYZ implementation user as an employee user. That is the reason system is displaying all these details. Okay, this is how you can create the employee user. We'll check other one also. We say what we created as an employee user. That is not synchronized. It may take some time. In some instances, we can find the delay in the synchronization process. Okay.
Do we need to run any editor job for synchronization?
No, not required. Not required. Ideally, it will happen. There is no need of running jobs. There is auto synchronization for this activity. So that's how you can create the employee user. With employee user, you can do any setups and you can work on any process. If you have only an implementation user, there are certain restrictions. For example, if you take differences between implementation user and employee user. So you have an implementation user and you have a implementation user. Other side you have a employee user. With the help of employee user, you can create supply, complete supply definition. You can create requisition and you can create purchase order. Okay, but with the help of implementation user, you cannot create the supplier, you cannot create the requisitions, you cannot create the purchase orders. That means we can understand with implementation user you cannot run the P2P cycle. Yes, O2C cycle okay, but P2P cycle, if you want to work on the P2P cycle, supplier is very important. That supplier you cannot create from the implementation user. That is only possible from the employee user. And there are a few other points also. We are working on the relevant process or concepts we will discuss. But now take the simple points. Not only this, which falls under procurement section. All those documents you cannot create being a implementation user. The user should be an employee user to create the supplier and requisitions, purchase orders, and quotations, okay, RFQs, request for quotations, etc., all can be created from employee user only. Implementation user cannot complete and work on all the tasks within the Fusion environment. Okay, this is what we have to understand. Anyway, we'll see how to create. If you want to create software, what are the other points you have to understand? We'll go through all those points. So far, what are the setups we completed within the instance? Any questions, please? If no questions, we'll talk about rapid implementation.
One question, Mr. Lakshman. What are the roles will be assigned by default when you create employee user or when you convert employees?
No roles can be assigned automatically. We can do the one setup by specifying what roles need to be assigned. We'll see that we call as auto role provisioning. We'll see that. First, we have to start with this rapid implementation. Once that is ready, once we start assigning the payables and receivables related roles, I'll show you how to assign the roles automatically based on some condition, some rules. Okay. See, now simply we cannot say for every employee user so and so roles need to be assigned. No. One user employee may work for payables department, other user may work for receivables department, other user may work for different departments. Okay, there are no common roles which need to be assigned. There is a one role which you may assign. That role name is employee. That will give employee self-service access. Yep. We'll discuss when we talk about role provisioning rules. There I'll touch that point, but now not required.
Yeah, one more. I mean, this is done, Lakshman, understood. One more thing is when you are converting, you have given the username is same as the implementation user. What if it is a different username?
No.
Can employee username is different from?
No, 1 second. I am not giving user same as that. I selected that implementation user only. What I was trying to do is, I want to create employee user for the existing user. That's what I selected. You can select different user. You can give the different user. That means you are creating new employee user. That also we tested. First we tested creating new employee user. After completing that, we just verified how to create employee user with existing implementation user. I'll take you through that page once again. You can see that. The task name is manage users. See here, if you go to create, if you want to create altogether new employee user, provide that name here. If you want to create employee user, that means creating employees is nothing but you are trying to add profile like employee profile to new user you are trying to create. Instead of that, you can select this radio option. You don't want to create any new name. For existing user only, you want to create this employee user. That's all. Okay, here you can select. We selected XYZ here, right? Already we converted, so it is not coming here. Here we selected and we provided other details. That's how we converted implementation user as a employee user. Here, if you want to give the same name, just here whatever the name you are trying to give, you can give the name. With what name you want to create new employee user. This is what we did. Any questions?
One second. Beyond this screen, let us say in the personal details, last name, right? Okay, that can be anything, or that should be the same as
anything. Only point is username.
Okay, this is linked with it. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, done.
Lakshman, I have one question, please. Could you please let me know the navigation for when you created the enterprise and the division, the location, and what is the navigation for that?
Here directly you can search from this page only. Okay, for enterprise, legal, you can say enterprise HCM information. Enterprise HCM information. You can make a note. The task name is manage enterprise HCM information. This is the task name. For enterprise definition, reality we don't define. We can find existing one. For division, manage divisions. Okay. Task name is manage divisions. The third one, what you said?
Location.
Location. Manage locations. Manage location.
Okay, so it's not going through the manage the implementation project, right? Just search.
Yeah, directly
the
on the
task.
first page you can do it. Now the question is, which setups you can complete from implementation project, which setups you cannot complete from search page, we will discuss now. For example, I want to set, okay, here whatever we did, we will just go through. For example, I want to assign business functions to BU. I'll try to do this from the search page. Okay, assign business functions to business unit. Sorry, assign business unit business functions. This is the task. Assign business unit business functions to BU. This is the task name. Now click on this. What it's saying, you must enter a business unit ID. Here, scope selection is not there. Randomly it is selecting one existing BU. Replace Rapid LG. This is the business unit it is selecting. Again, it is not giving any options to us. That means this task you cannot complete from search page. This you can complete from the project. What is the reason? When you perform certain setups, selected scope is mandatory. Which tasks selected scope is mandatory, those setups you can create from the project, or we have a different option also. We'll see both. Search. Now go to the same task. Assign business unit business function. This is the task name. Assign business unit business function is the task name. Click on this task. Okay. Assign business unit business function. So here, selected scope is there. That is the reason system will allow us to navigate to that BU page. If selected scope is not there, you cannot perform from here. Click on go to task icon. Now it is taking us to that page. The same is possible from the FSM page also, where we will go and see. From here also you can do. Select financials. Okay. And select organization structures. Here we have a task called as assign business unit business function. Click on this. Here selected scope is there. They are asking us to select BU. From here also you can complete that setup. What is our BU name? select, say, save and close. Yes, we are able to access our business unit from this page also. See, notice these 3 points. One page is implementation project. Second page is FSM. You can say home page, FSM home page. Third one is search. From implementation project, you can complete almost 100% setup. If that offering is not available in that implementation project, those we can do from search page. From FSM home page also, almost whatever the offerings we are using, will be able to complete 100% setups. Here I could say 80 to 90% setups only you can complete from the search page. Wherever scope selection is applicable, you cannot do the setup from the search page. If scope selection is not there, you can do the setups, otherwise you cannot do the setups. But from the search page, you can access all the tasks. But you may not be in the position to perform those tasks. All you can access, but when it comes to completing the setup, only 80% of setups only you can complete. I will try with another one. So I want to complete one of the setup called as setting ledger options. Here already we completed, right? We done with all those setups. We created a primary ledger, we specified ledger options. For example, this setup you want to complete. Okay, you want to complete this setup from the search page. Let's see now. Search. Okay. Here we can say specify ledger options. Okay, specify ledger options. Click on this task. It is taken to some ledger. Now you want to go to your ledger. Is it possible? No. Whenever you click on specify ledger options, it will take us to one random ledger. So it is taking us to this ledger. If you want to go to your ledger, it is not possible at all. That's how there is no use of this search page when we deal with a few tasks. The same setup you want to do from this FSM home page. Yes, possible. You can go to financials. Okay, you can go to general ledger application. Select general ledger. Here we have a specify ledger option. So you can see here selected scope is there. Click on this task, specify ledger options. It will ask us to select ledger name. Then we'll be able to do the setup however we are planned. Apply and go to task. Now you can find your ledger. Here first you can search. Use enter key. Okay, select and say save and close. So this is how you can access. Now we don't need to navigate. So that's how you can access to that page. And from project anyway we can do. Already we done from the project only. Go to implementation project. Click on overview. Not assigned. Okay. XYZ and see. So specify ledger options. Now if you just click on go to task icon, it will take us to our lecture, XYZ USA primary lecture. So this is how just you can navigate for all the tasks from the project. Only limited task wise you can access to all in case of search, but you cannot perform when you are in the search page. Okay, just find out this difference. Any task you can find from the search page, but any task you cannot complete from search page. All the only like within the implementation project, what are the offerings and options we have? Within those offerings and options, so whatever the setup you want to perform, yes, you can perform. There won't be any restriction. And when you talk about FSM homepage, you can select required offering and you can perform any setup. But reality, we do the setups as a part of project. So this is the point we have to notice. Any questions on this point, please?
Yeah, Lakshman, one question here.
Yeah.
See, by using the implementation user, we can do the complete setups, as you told. So with the help of employee user, we can create the transactions in all subledgers, right? Is my understanding correct? For transaction creation purpose, we'll use the employee user.
No, see, what are the roles we assign to initial user? Two roles we assign, right?
Application implementation consultant and IT security manager.
Yeah. To which user you assign these two roles, that user can perform the setups. Any user.
Correct.
Okay. You may assign these two roles to user A. That means user A will be able to do all the setups. You may assign these two roles to user B. User B can complete all the setups. Now the point is, who is user A and who is user B? User A can be employee user and user B can be implementation user, or else user A can be implementation user, user B may be employee user. Doesn't matter who is that user. Whether the user got access to these roles, that is really matter. Okay. So if you got access to these two roles, you will be able to do the setups. If you get access to payables roles, yes, payable related transactions you can perform. Receivables roles, yes, receivables related transactions you can perform. Along with that, those payables roles, if you have access to these two roles, you will be able to do the setups also. Okay, there is no restriction. Any role, any user, that user can be implementation user or employee user.
So setups means which includes transaction processing as well, Lakshman, which you are referring?
Setups means setups only. Transactions are different. Setups means you will get access to FSM. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Setups means you will get access to FSM. Through FSM, can we do the transactions? No, only setups. To perform the transactions, we have a separate roles. Those are application specific roles. Yep.
So those roles can be applied to either implementation user or employee user.
No. Any user, any roles can be assigned.
Okay, got it.
Now we have a user ANC. Okay.
So what?
Initially, the user was like implementation user, because we created in security console and we were using. Later we converted XYZ as a employee user. Now XYZ as a employee user. Now today, this user you can assign any roles. Assign payables roles. You will be able to record the payables transactions. Other side, this user got access to application implementation consultant, IT security manager. Because of these two roles, this user will be able to do the setups, and this user can have access to security console and all. And anyway, you are assigning payables roles to the same user. Other side, this user will be able to create the payables transactions, invoice creation, payment creation, and all this user can perform. Yeah.
Is there any hard and fast rule that these are the setups only can perform the implementation user. These are the setups only can perform the employee user. What is the main difference? What one? Just at broader level, at high
Totally
level.
depends on the role. So if you have such kind of requirement, customize the role. What are the role you are assigning to that user to give the access to setup? You customize it. Say application implementation consultant role will give access to everything. But you want to give application implementation consultant role to one user and you want to limit the access of specific setups only. Then what you can do is you can copy this application implementation consultant role and modify, and the modified application implementation consultant role you can assign to the user. Accordingly, the user will be able to perform the setup. You can customize it. We have one session about role customization, how to copy, how to modify, how to create the roles from the scratch, what are the different classifications we have for roles, and everything we will discuss, and how to compare one role with another role. You can do that. Whatever the question you are asking, yes, we can achieve by customizing the roles.
Sounds good, Lakshman. Earlier, I was under impression that only implementation user can limit for doing the setups and employee user can limit to perform the transactions. Now I got the clear picture.
Any user can do anything. It totally depends what roles you are assigning to which user. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So Lakshman,
I have a small doubt here.
Yeah.
Regarding this employee creation, what you have done now.
Yeah.
To give the access for the relevant application implementation consultant or IT, if required, if you can give, or we can also use the same employee for the employee payroll in HCM. This is only to perform the action like implementation or any kind of
See, these two roles will support to do only setups only. With these two roles, we cannot run the payrolls. We cannot create invoice payrolls. We cannot create any assets in the fixed assets. We cannot create the requisition in the purchase. No transaction can be created with these two roles. These two roles are limited only to perform the setups. No transaction creation is possible. For those, we have a separate roles.
Actually, my question is, the employee what we have created now can be used in HCM for the payroll.
Yes.
Or this is only to assigning role to perform the actions.
Yeah. Just now please go on mute.
I mean, today is.
No, one second. So we created a user called as employee user called as XYZ. Of course, implementation user we converted as XYZ. Yes, that user would be available in the HR and payroll now. To the same employee user, you can add additional details, the employee associations, etc. You can use in that relevant processes. Okay, the employee user, whatever you create, that is a basic definition which Oracle is providing as a shared service. Even if you don't subscribe to HCM also, still you will be able to create employee user however we created just now. That is the shared option Oracle is providing. The same employee user will be available or employee will be available in the HCM now. That is possible. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think Ramesh was asking some question.
Is class done today?
Yeah, we just done for today. Let me just 5 more minutes. We'll discuss one point that we'll see in the tomorrow session. Okay, just 5 minutes. Or else, okay, we'll do tomorrow the rapid implementation concept. We will discuss and we'll complete the entire rapid implementation tomorrow itself. So far, what are the setups we completed? All these setups in one go we can complete the rapid implementation. You don't need to enter into the system. You don't need to create the calendar, currencies, chart of accounts, primary ledger, legal entities and all, nothing. Just the spreadsheet you can give some inputs and system will create automatically. We'll discuss and do in the tomorrow session. Let's say we're done for.
So Lakshman, once you complete, I have two questions.
One second, please. I'll take your questions. Okay. The first point is we're done for today. And from tomorrow, please try to be available up to 9:30. Okay. We'll stretch the classes up to 9:30. please support. So we'll run the sessions up to 9:30 so that we can spend good amount of time so that we can just cover the concepts what we plan, and we'll be able to complete as soon as possible without skipping any topics. We'll cover everything, but let's try to spend time up to 9:30 from tomorrow. Today we didn't plan up to 9:30. Okay, we can wind up for today. From tomorrow, please try to be available by up to till 9:30 so that we can try to cover
So
many.
can we expect? So can we? Okay. So can we expect